Hello and welcome to the DeTulio and Durger College Sports Show. I'm Joe DeTulio. With me is Rob Durger, as always. And we're getting to the point where college football and college basketball are on, so we're both pumped. Got the Champions Classic on tonight when you're probably listening to this, or just past if you're listening to it later in the week. We got some big college football stuff coming up this week, too. Maybe not as many good games, but there's always the potential for some upsets. Rob, how are you doing?
It's one of the best times of the year, less than 24 hours from college basketball being back. Got a couple more weeks of college football staying strong. It's a good time to be a sports fan.
Absolutely, and we're going to start off with college basketball. We do have a lot of good games this week. There are going to be some blowouts. We're not going to pick all of the top 25 games, but we'll go through and we will do maybe some of the more notable ones as we go through here. And we'll start with number 10 Michigan State at number 1 Kansas, kind of the unofficial kickoff of college basketball. I guess there's a couple games starting around the same time, but that's the big one people will be watching.
Yeah, the first one I believe is UW Green Bay plays some Division II school at like 11:30 a.m. tomorrow. So that's the official kickoff, I guess, of college basketball. And the first kickoff or the first tip-off of 2 Division I teams is 3 o'clock St. Francis, PA at Buffalo. So those are the real kickoffs if you're a diehard. But yeah, it's a pretty solid. I'm disappointed that they took away the 24-hour tip-off. But the opening weekend or week is, I think, more stacked than at least I remember it being in the past. Really awesome slate of games, both inside and outside of the Champions Classic in Indy. But to answer your question there, I'm going with Kansas in that first one. Michigan State I think they're the team to beat in the Big Ten, but they do have some questions with how they're going to replace Bridges, who's going to be that go-to guy. Kansas, I think they're the number 1 team in the country right now. They got a lot of talent coming back. Get the twins from Memphis coming in. I just think there's too much talent and experience in Kansas. I got them pulling this one off.
Yeah, I got Kansas too. The interesting thing with this team is they're a really weird mix of different players. Like, they have a couple highly touted recruits, a couple transfers, the Lawson twins from Memphis, one from Cal. They got Silvio De Souza, who is sitting out for the FBI stuff, as far as I know still. It's kind of a weird thing going on with Kansas. The main thing is making sure they get it all together, but the talent level is, I think, higher than Michigan State. They're deeper than Michigan State. I do really like Cassius Winston for Michigan State, but at the same time, I don't know if if people around him are going to play good enough to win this game. I'm with you. I like Kansas in the first big game of the year. We'll go to a game last year. Wofford scored a big win over North Carolina. This year they get them at home.
I'm taking Wofford in an upset again. This is a game that they're going to get up for. I saw the video of their students camping out late at night. It's an awesome new arena. They actually opened it last year. They nearly knocked off South Carolina at home on opening night of that new arena. Got Fletcher McGee, one of the best players in the country. They got an offense that can light up the scoreboard. I think they're gonna ride that momentum.
All right, I'm going North Carolina. I do think they're susceptible to an upset here. I did think about pulling the trigger. They do have Luke May back, but they do have some big shoes to fill in Joel Berry and Theo Pinson. Theo Pinson, kind of that glue guy. Joel Berry, the point guard and leader of the last couple of years. So there's a couple different things that could come into effect. But I think Seventh Woods, who's coming in, Nasir Little, who's a new recruit, can kind of help come in and just kind of provide that extra spark they're going to need to win this game over Wofford this year. Okay, let's move on down. Let's go to Florida at number 17, Florida State.
I really like both these teams. This is one of those under-the-radar games. Kind of a shame that it's going on at the same time as Duke and Kentucky, and probably won't get many eyeballs. But I'm going with the Seminoles at home. I think this is a pretty close matchup, but at home court's big, especially this early in the season. They got a lot of length and athleticism on the court. I think they ride that momentum from the Elite Eight appearance last year to win.
Yeah, still got Phil Kofer, still got Terrence Mann. Leonard Hamilton, I guess, was last seen mismanaging the clock and getting nasty with reporters. But for the most part, he's a solid coach that teaches defense, and I like that at the start of the years. If your defense is going to be there, that's a huge advantage, like you mentioned with the home court advantage as well. So I'm going Florida State too. All right, the big one a lot of people have been waiting for over the whole offseason. Number 4, Duke at number 2, Kentucky, technically in Indianapolis.
And I'm taking the Wildcats here. I think this is one that I really thought about. They're both clearly top 5 teams, but I think Kentucky's got a little bit more experience with Green and Washington coming back. Also, I think Ricky Travis is going to be huge for them. I mentioned that when we did our previews. I think that assuming the one and done stay the same way, I think that's something that you're going to see Calipari start to take more advantage of. Maybe bringing 1 or 2 of these seniors in a year for a 1-year rental, rather than just being all freshmen. I think there's more depth and there's a little bit more well-rounded of a team than Duke is, especially this early in the season. I trust the experience.
Yeah, I'm going Kentucky too. Don't know if that means they're better in the long run, but for this one, like the guard pressure, the defense I think of this team is going to be some of the best in the country, which is not something, I don't know what we're going to get out of Duke just because there's a lot of freshmen. And I think they're going to take advantage of the fact that Duke doesn't have much depth at all at guard. Trey Jones was pretty much their only guard recruit. They do have 3 different wings that might be able to fill in a little bit, and Alex O'Connell, who's a shooting guard. But if they get Trey Jones in foul trouble, if they disrupt him a little bit, make him have a bad game in his first ever college game, I mean, that could spell problems. That's why I'm going with Kentucky. I think when you have the depth that they do, and they can just kind of wear down Trey Jones and Duke in this one. All right, let's go Western Kentucky at number 25, Washington.
There's a lot of talent on this Western Kentucky team, but going cross-country, playing a late-night game in Seattle, I'm taking the Huskies here. I think there's 3 players in Western Kentucky that have been arrested in the last month, so maybe some off-the-court distraction, but I think Washington's a pretty underrated team. I could see them competing in the Pac-12. Mike Hopkins is starting to build that, Syracuse of the West Coast that he's trying to mold them out to be. Got some big guards, try to use a lot of length in that 2-3 zone, like over in Syracuse, and Matthias Thybulle in particular. I think he's one of the best players on the West Coast, senior this year, a lot of experience, very good defensive team. I think they ride that out for a home win.
I got Washington too. They're, as you said, they got just about everything. They got some defense, they got some size. I'll go with that. Western Kentucky also in the news because head coach Rick Stansbury is on blast right now because one of his players from Mississippi State, when he coached there, said that Rick Stansbury paid him money. So they have a lot more distractions than most teams at this point. Very talented team though, and one to watch in the CUSA, up and coming. But Washington, I think, is a very good team this season. Let's go with BYU and number 7 Nevada.
This honestly might be the game that I'm most excited about. I think BYU plays up and down to their competition so much. They have the ability to light the scoreboard up in a hurry with Haas and Emery and ULE Childs pounding the glass. But I'm taking Nevada. I'm curious to just see what they do with their rotations. There's so much talent here between Caroline and the Martins, and bringing Brown in and getting Jazz Johnson in and all those transfers. Just too much offense for the Wolfpack. But I'm really excited to see this one.
Yeah, I am too. Nevada is, I think, a little bit better of a team than BYU. I think BYU is going to make the tournament. I think Nevada getting Jordan Brown in and everything is definitely a help. They didn't need much depth last year. I think this year they add a little bit more depth to the team. Lindsey Drew's health, I believe, is still up in the air, so that's something I wouldn't count on. But this is a very, very good team yet again. I got Nevada over BYU. Let's go to UNC Greensboro at number 23 LSU.
I took Greensboro in an upset here. I'm not fully buying LSU this year. I think they're a good team. I don't know that I'm buying the top 25 hype, but former UNC star is building a big program at UNC Greensboro. They're real close to knocking off Gonzaga in the first round last. I think they keep that going. They got really good guard play themselves, and they pull the upset off.
Yeah, we know one of these top 25 teams is going to lose to an unranked team, and it might be something that's pretty scary because it always happens, and we don't know as much about these teams as we think we know going into the year. I'm going UNC Greensboro, too. It's an NCAA tournament team from last year. Pretty good program. And I'm with you. LSU, I was happily surprised with how well they did last year, I guess. Or I guess I was a little bit more pessimistic about how they were going to be. But UNC, I think they could be an average team in the SEC, and that's fine. But I think UNC Greensboro might be able to win. Buffalo at number 13, West Virginia.
I got West Virginia here. Like every Bob Huggins team, they got a killer defense, going to get in your face. Kanade is one of the best rim protectors in the league, going to get Buffalo a lot of trouble. I got the Mountaineers.
I'm going Bob Huggins. Main reason there. Front court is pretty solidified, have a lot of key players back there. Back court, not as much, but I think they'll figure it out. If you have a rim protector like Konate, I think it's a good start, and obviously you can just kind of fill out the roster around them. So I'm going West Virginia too. Buffalo just not quite good enough to get it done on the road. Number 25, Washington at number 11, Auburn.
I got Auburn here. They got a lot coming back. One of the best teams I think in the country, probably the team to beat in the SEC. They got to get that taste out of their mouth from the ugly NCAA tournament performance, but I think they'll be back with vengeance to get this win.
I'm going Auburn too. Really like their roster this year. I think they're right up there with Tennessee and Kentucky. Don't think that's too bold of a statement to say. Got those players back from last year that we've talked about, and put them all together. Yeah, Mustafa Heron's gone, but I think they're not going to be too. I think they could be a better team this year even without him. So I'm going to go Auburn. All right, any other games you think worth picking, Rob?
Yeah, I would have said the Missouri-Iowa State game, but without Jonathan Porter, I don't see that one being too close. I do like Iowa State in a bounce-back season. Hilton's always a tough place to play, and I think Talon Horton-Tucker is going to be one of the more under-the-radar freshmen, but I think he's going to be one of the best freshmen in the Big 12. Another big game earlier in the week, big-time bragging rights in Ohio as Ohio State plays Cincinnati in the first game at the new Fifth Third Arena. Both teams lost a lot. I'm going with the Bearcats with Kane Broom at home in front of a pretty crazy crowd.
Yeah, I'll take Iowa State and Cincinnati as well. Backcourt play for them. You mentioned Kane Broom. That's big. They have great backcourt. Front court is not solidified, but this is a guards game, so I'll go Cincinnati too.
Ohio State just had a transfer today. Mike Potter announced he transferred 2 days before the season started. That's kind of weird for one that expected to maybe not be a starter, but at least be in the six or seven man rotation. Yeah.
Wow. There's something really weird has to be going on at that point. Maybe a family health issue or something, or maybe something even I don't know, weirder going on at Ohio State to be able to transfer just 2 days before the season. Yeah, that's definitely an odd situation. All right, that's our college basketball picks for the week. We'll be back next week. We'll maybe recap a little bit of what happened with the Champions Classic and all the big games here and make our picks for the following week. But we still have a lot of good football going on at the moment as we're heating up to the end of the season. College football playoff rankings have been coming out weekly at this point. And we'll see how the committee ranks them. We're recording before that point, so we don't have too much knowledge on that. But before we do that, let's recap last week. We do that first with the teams of the week, Rob.
Most dramatic win of the week was West Virginia over Texas in a 42-41 thriller that was a perfect encapsulation of the Big 12 and a perfect encapsulation of why Gus Johnson is so great. Will Greer was doing Will Greer things all game, threw for 346 yards and 3 touchdowns. Wilkerson had a pretty ballsy call to go for 2 late in that fourth quarter with 16 seconds left, I think. And Will Greer calmly ran it in while taunting the Texas team to get that win. Just too much offense. Texas played a good game. Ellinger was making some plays. Will Jordan Humphreys, one of the best receivers in the country, but at the end of the day, the Mountaineers went and Austin got a big win. Themselves in a real good spot for that Big 12 championship game, and For the second week in a row, Texas lost a close one, and Tom Herman looked like an obnoxious spoiled loser again.
Yeah, exactly. Going to Bama for mine. The game we kind of all were waiting for again, Alabama LSU. At least the environment's fun, but Alabama wins 29-0. Didn't really have any threats from LSU to really score. Tua looked great. He did end up pulling up limp on that touchdown run with the knee, so that's something to watch out for. But they physically dominated LSU. It sucked that LSU didn't have Devin White for a lame targeting call on the Mississippi State game the 2 weeks ago. But at the same time, he probably wouldn't make a 29-point difference from just playing one extra half. So Alabama Team of the Week, not really too much of a surprise. And, I mean, I don't know if I've seen a team that seems as complete at this point of the season as I have with Alabama right now. So they're my Team of the Week for the first one. Rob, who's your second?
Well, they're about a month away from the SEC championship game, but we already know we'll be taking on the Georgia Bulldogs in Atlanta again. They beat Kentucky 34-17 to clinch the SEC East in a game that Kentucky was able to hang around for most of the game, but at no point did they really seriously threaten or that I think that they were going to win this ball game. Georgia did a good job of bottling up Benny Snell, and Swift and Holyfield went for over 100 yards apiece like they usually do, and Georgia kind of cruised to their second straight SEC East championship.
Yeah, crazy that it's already decided, but I guess that's what you kind of get when you have a lot of the SEC teams having non-conference games kind of the next couple weeks coming up here, so that'll be something we'll keep our eye on.
And one team that's head and shoulders above the rest in each division.
That's true too. That's true. That definitely helps. I'm going Michigan here. My upset team of the week. I actually picked Penn State in this one, but their offense is clearly broken, and Michigan State's defense is really, really good. One of the best in the country. We've been saying for a long time now if they had a quarterback, they'd be a team to watch out for. And Shea Patterson isn't going to throw for 500 yards or anything in a game, but he's managing the games well. They have Karan Higdon at running back going off for 132 yards and a touchdown against Penn State. And they win 42-7. Still some tough games down the road for Michigan, obviously. The game coming up, maybe a Big Ten championship. That should make fans feel a little nervous, but they look clearly like the best team in the Big Ten right now, having already beaten Penn State and Michigan State, especially with Ohio State's struggles. So they are my second team of the week. Let's go to upset teams of the week. Rob, who's your first?
I'm taking a Fun Belt upset here. Georgia Southern knocked off Appalachian State to look like they were taking control of the conference, and they turned around and get beat pretty badly by UL Monroe in the Warhawk House. Navigator doing a great job with UL Monroe. I mentioned in our conference previews, they're, I believe, the least funded school in the FBS, but they're looking like they're going to be making a bowl game this year. A lot of fun team that can put up points. Marcus Green had 2 receptions for 149 yards and 2 touchdowns. Gotta wonder why they didn't target a guy with 75 yards per catch and touchdowns in both of his receptions, but it worked out well for him, put up 44 points. Looking good for a bowl game, and the Fun Belt is probably, unlike the SEC, going to go down to that last week.
Yeah, that's still going to be a fun conference race to watch there. I'll go with another conference race that might be, not less fun to watch, but extremely competitive. I mean, in the fact that it'll have multiple teams in the race, and that is Pac-12. The South now is weird. I thought Utah was a good team, maybe the best team in the Pac-12 outside of Washington State, and they got upset by Arizona State. So now Utah is 4-3 in the Pac-12. Arizona State is 3-3 after their 38-20 win. They were at home, but they really did just kind of go off on offense. N'Keal Harry had over 150 yards at receiving. Benjamin had 175 yards rushing, and Manny Wilkins kind of only had 5 incompletions. So you're not going to lose many games if you have that amount of efficiency. And now you're looking at a Pac-12 South that, first of all, isn't very good, but second of all, Utah 4-3, USC 4-3, Arizona 4-3, Arizona State 3-3, Colorado and UCLA 2-4. So it's still pretty much up for grabs there. Interested to see what happens down the stretch in this division. Rob, let's go to your second one.
It's not very often that Rice falling to 1-9 would be the upset of the week, but I give credit to the UTEP Miners. They have the nation's longest losing streak at 20 games, dating 2 seasons. Coming into this game, and they knocked off Rice 36 on the road in Houston. UTEP was a team that had been improving. It hadn't shown on the scoreboard yet, but they lost 24 to Tennessee, by 19 to a real good UAB team, by 7 at Louisiana Tech, and by 3 against North Texas. So they've been improving. Their performances just weren't enough to get the win. This week, it finally happened. They knocked off Rice. They're not the worst team in Conference USA. And maybe the Miners finally have something building out there in West Texas.
Definitely could be. I'm going Missouri with my second upset pick of the week here. The Tigers beat Florida. Florida was number 11 in the initial college football playoff rankings. Obviously will drop now. Missouri won 38-17. Had control of the game the entire time. Drew Lock against a lot of NFL players on that defense. Threw for 250 yards, 3 touchdowns. And really, I mean, I think Dan Mullen said it best. Like, some of the people on this team, on the Florida team, just don't seem like they want to win. They're not competitive. He had an awesome press conference where he said, if we're arm wrestling, I'm trying to win. If you want me to go out and run stadium stairs, I want to win. And it seems like the locker room doesn't have that same mentality. So something to watch on. Maybe their motivation was kind of down after the Georgia game and everything else. But Missouri, props to them, got their first SEC win. They are now 1-4. Again, doesn't really affect the SEC picture too much in terms of the conference champions or the division champions are already decided, but still good for Missouri. They're now 5-4 and have a better shot at making a bowl game. They were likely going to make it either way, though. Let's go to players of the week, Rob.
Yeah, I'm going with Reggie Corbin out of Illinois. They steamrolled Minnesota and quite an upset. Got their defensive coordinator, Rob Smith, fired. Reggie Corbin was going for 213 yards, over 16 yards per carry, and 2 touchdowns, both of 70 yards or longer. And a big win for the Illini to stay out of the basement of the Big 10 West.
You saw him live in person. Good running back there. I've not seen this guy live in person. Trey Sermon for Oklahoma rushes for 206 yards, 3 touchdowns. Yes, Kyler Murray gets all the headlines and should get a lot of headlines as quarterback of Oklahoma, but Trey Sermon being able to run the ball was huge for Oklahoma in this game. They beat Texas Tech 51-46. The margins were eerily, I mean, they were so slim in that game. Texas Tech had a quarterback change that was pretty weird, so it was good that Oklahoma had the sense to, I guess, give the ball to Trey Sermon 26 times for 206 yards. They thought that Texas Tech's quarterback, Alan Bowman, had to leave the game because he was hit with a football at halftime. They showed audio of him just crouching over after a throw, so I don't know what actually happened, but that was definitely the weirdest injury I've ever heard of in terms of college football. Before, I guess, we saw the video of it not necessarily being the case. All right, that is last week. Let's go to this week now. We'll start off with our upset picks of the week. We each get one. Rob, which one is yours?
I got some more fun about Arkansas State is getting 6 points. They're 6-point favorites on the road at Coastal. I think these are teams that are pretty equal in talent. Arkansas State hasn't quite lived up to expectations. I think the Chancellors are going to defend the teal turf and knock them off at home.
I want Arkansas State, more of a been there, done that kind of pick, and I think they're, you said they haven't lived up to expectations. I'd hope they'd want to at some point. I still think they have some solid players that can get the job done with Justice Hansen and some other guys. But you're right, they're 2 similar teams. I'll go with Arkansas State on the road. They are 6-point favorites. I won't say that. I'm not very comfortable in them covering anything, but I'll go with them. My upset pick is going to be USF over Cincinnati. Not many fans I'm going to make here in Cincinnati by picking this one. They are, I believe, huge underdogs in this game. Nippert Stadium, it's a night game, 7 p.m., ESPNU. Cincinnati really scares me, if I'm being honest. They haven't really beat anyone that is of note, but they are playing well. They just beat Navy, I think, 42-0. But I think South Florida coming into this game, they're not a great team, but I think they might be able to get the job done.
Yeah, I don't know. They don't seem to have any defense. They just got boat raced by Houston and back-to-back. I mean, ugly 41-15 loss to Tulane. I think this is where you see Charlie Strong teams kind of unwrap at this point in the season. I think Cincinnati's going to keep that going and blow out USF for their third straight loss.
All right, we will move on to regular picks of the week. Let's go with start off with kind of a weekday games here. Number 23, Fresno State at Boise State.
I got Boise on the blue turf here. I think this matchup for Fresno is a pretty good team, but I just like that Boise State offense. I would rip it at home. I think it's a one-possession game, but I got the Broncos.
I went with Fresno for this one. I think Marcus McMarion's doing pretty well. He's finding Keyshawn Johnson a lot. I think they can kind of keep that going. Might be a little bit of a shootout of a game, but I think Fresno State will be able to hold their own and win the game in the end. Ohio State clearly struggling, only beat Nebraska by one possession, and they travel to East Lansing to take on Michigan State.
I got Michigan State at home. They're always dangerous in East Lansing. I love the way their defense is playing. I think their offense, they can control the ball. Ohio State has a very soft defense, especially at the middle, or especially against the run, as they showed in the last couple of weeks. I think ball control and defense, it does the job for Michigan State, and they get a close one at home.
I'm sticking with Ohio State in this one. They did establish more of a running game against Nebraska. Not saying that's a tough challenge, but for Ohio State it has been this year. And that's something I think they're going to need against Michigan State. Might not get those big plays to pop off, but you just need to get 4 or 5 yards of carry and see where you're at after that play. Dwayne Haskins is still playing pretty well. I think he can still have a good game against Michigan State. But I think it's very, very close. Might come down to a field goal at the end of the game. South Carolina at Florida.
It is a tough one. I'm going to Florida in a bounce-back game at home. Jake Bentley's playing better the last couple of weeks, but he really hasn't shown the ability to score against a good environment like this. So
I'll take Florida too. Dan Mullen gives that speech. I'd hope they'd be a little bit pumped up and try to win this game. Talent level's there. They're at home. I'm going Florida. Let's go to Wisconsin at number 14, Penn State.
I got Penn State here, but the teams are kind of floundering, trying to stay somewhat relevant this season. I just think there's a lot more talent on Penn State, and they're at home. I mean, McSorley and Sanders are too good to be playing as poorly as they have, to be looking at like a 500 Big Ten team. So I got Penn State.
I've got Penn State too. Not, like you said, not sold on either of these teams. But I'll go Trace McSorley as what I'm going to ride on. I don't think he'll struggle for too much longer. I know he's a little bit banged up, but he'll bounce back. I think Penn State wins it. They're at home. Ole Miss at Texas A&M.
I got Texas A&M. Both teams are kind of struggling, but I like I think the Texas A&M defense can keep Tomu in check, and Ole Miss can have no answer for Kalman, Trayvon Williams. They can't really stop anything. So I got the Aggies bouncing back big.
Mike Elko is doing a great job with that defense. I'm with you. I think they can slow down Tomu just enough. Should be able to win the game. Let's go to Vanderbilt, Missouri. Two teams at the bottom of the SEC, but they're both kind of fighting for bowl eligibility. Vanderbilt 4-5, Missouri 5-4.
Yeah, both teams might be able to clinch it. Missouri with their 6 wins, Vanderbilt with their 5th with one of the best APR scores. But I'm taking Missouri, another team that I think there's just too much talent to have the record that they do. Drew Lock finally got his first big win as a Tiger against Florida. I think he keeps it rolling, and they beat Navy to secure that 6th win.
I think they do too. I'll take Missouri. Drew Lock, I think, is playing well against Florida's defense. He should be able to do the same against Vanderbilt's defense. Staying at home for another week is huge. I'll take Missouri.
Vanderbilt's going to put up some points there. They have a really good running game with Keyshawn Donaldson playing really well down the stretch.
Yeah, that's true. I think it's going to be a lot of points in that one. Let's go with Maryland at Indiana. Both teams, again, trying to get to bowl eligibility, which kind of makes this unique. Maryland 5-4, Indiana 4-5. Maryland still has a lot of this stuff going on, I guess, with the administration, but still have a chance to make a bowl game.
Yeah, I think the loser of this one, with their schedules remaining, is pretty much out. I got the Hoosiers winning here. Just too many questions about Maryland. Their offense looked atrocious last week, getting shut out. So I got the Hoosiers in the close one.
I'm of the same opinion in that there's too much going on outside. If they have the players fighting during practice, I'm not going to pick them to beat a semi-decent team in Indiana, and that puts Indiana 2 games left to get to one more win. Maryland 2 games left to get to one more win. We'll see what happens with those 2 teams. Let's do Troy.
Maryland plays, I believe it's the highest state in Penn State after this one, so you kind of get the feeling they have to win this one if they want to get to 6.
Yeah, that's a tough last 2 games of the season. Let's go some Sun Belt here. Troy at Georgia Southern.
This is going to be a fun one. Points being put up on the board, but I'm going with Georgia Southern at home in a shootout.
I went with Troy. I like what Neil Brown has done with that program. We talked about them. They're kind of a mini dynasty. 5-0 in the Sun Belt so far. Do have B.J. Smith, who's run for 860 yards and 10 touchdowns on the year, but also have some nice balance. They have a star receiver too, and Damian Willis, who has 718 receiving yards and 8 touchdowns. They can beat you in multiple ways. I'm going Troy. Let's go to number 18, Mississippi State at number 1, Alabama.
I like Mississippi State. They're playing better. Nick Fitzgerald's playing a lot better, which is key for them. But they're running into an absolute buzzsaw in Tuscaloosa, and they're probably going to get blown out.
Yeah, I'd say winning by 30 or so points is not out of the question again. Tua's injury, and then Jalen Hurts is also banged up. Does concern me if they have to put a new quarterback in. But even with the new quarterback, I think they might still be able to win some of these tough games. So I'm going Alabama. Bedlam this weekend. Oklahoma State at number 7, Oklahoma.
Oklahoma State's been so all over this year. Followed up that win against Texas with the loss to the blew a big lead. Yeah, I just don't have any faith in that Oklahoma State defense. Who knows? Because when they get hot, they can play well, but Oklahoma's a safe pick for me.
I'm going Oklahoma, too. I was very concerned about their defense. That's why I picked Texas Tech, but you're right. I just can't trust Oklahoma State. They're up and down all year. Don't know what you're going to get. When Oklahoma plays a somewhat solid team, I'm probably going to pick them to lose again just because the defense concerns me, but Oklahoma State just can't really get a good read on them. Number 8, Washington State at Colorado.
I think Washington State got a bit of a wake-up call against an underrated Cal team, but still a team that, if you're top 10, you should be beating. I think they respond well against a Colorado team that's been kind of in a free fall the last couple of weeks. I think the Cougars win big.
I like Washington State. I like Mike Leach, and I like Gardner Minshew in this one. Should have a big game against Colorado. Started the season off hot. They are tumbling fast. Something we kind of saw coming a little bit. Maybe not as bad as they have been. But Washington State should take care of business. And again, we're using the rankings from last week. We're doing this before this college football playoff selection show in between the Champions Classic. So at this point, number 9, Kentucky at Tennessee.
They lost too, but I got them against Tennessee. It was kind of a letdown against Georgia, but they should be able to bounce back and be focused, knowing that 3 straight wins, finishing 10-2, should be able to get them in the New Year's Six Bowl, which would be huge for that program. I think they get it done here.
It's a very close one. They're actually favored by just 3.5 points. Haven't won in Neyland Stadium in ages. I don't know what the exact date is. This team is different, though, and I like about this team is they play defense and they run the ball well most games. There are some good teams that'll shut them down. I don't think Tennessee's quite on their level, so I think they'll run the ball, play some defense. It'll be a close one, but Kentucky will grind out the win. Northwestern at Iowa.
I think Northwestern here, both teams coming off of losses. Northwestern's played up and down to their competition so much, but they seem to be a buzzsaw as long as they're playing other Big Ten opponents. 5-1 against the conference, and 3 against teams from outside the Big Ten. I think they keep that going with a win in Kinnick.
Yeah, I went Northwestern as well. A weird team this season, but I think they can get the win. Like you said, good against Big Ten competition. Clayton Thorson looks like he's healthier and healthier going forward. That's encouraging. And I think, and emphasis on I think, by picking this, we're picking Northwestern to win the Big Ten, but you can never, or Big Ten West, but you can never tell with how they play. I mean, the rest of their schedule is Minnesota and Illinois, so they should, with a one-game advantage.
2 wins will do it for them.
Yeah, exactly. They should be able to do it, but I think it gets that schedule. If we pick them to beat Iowa, if they win this one, looking like they're going to go to the Big Ten championship game. Baylor at Iowa State.
I got Iowa State here. Baylor's been playing pretty well. Jack Trice Stadium magic is real. It's been pretty lit this season. I think that continues with big Cyclones win.
I do too. Really solid team all around. Baylor, I know they've had some big wins, and I've picked against them before. But Iowa State, I think, is a solid team, and I'll take Iowa State at home. Virginia Tech at Pitt, and Pitt controls its own destiny in the ACC Coastal that seemingly no one wants to win. But they're 4-1, so maybe they can do it.
Yeah, Pitt's kind of similar to Northwestern. They got nothing going for them out of conference, but seem to be playing pretty well against ACC teams. They got a big win against Virginia last week. RJ Allison put for over 200 yards. I think they keep that going against the just very mediocre Virginia Tech team. I think the Panthers win.
I'll go Pitt too. I mean, ride the hot hand. I don't know that Virginia Tech's that great. I mean, obviously losing Josh Jackson for the season and everything. If they win this one again, might look like they can go to the ACC championship game. 2 games left after that. Their games will be at Wake and at Miami. And, Miami's 2-3 in conference. Wake is 1-4. So I don't know if we'll ever figure out the ACC Coastal this year, even after it's over. But at the same time,
knowing how the Coastal's going, I'm sure they'll beat Miami and lose to Wake.
Yeah, and someone like Georgia Tech will come out of nowhere with 3 losses in conference or something. They'll win the division or something like that. But yeah, I'll go Pitt too. Let's go to Oregon at Utah.
I'm taking Utah here. They're a bit of a disappointment for me last week. I do still think they have one of the best defense in the Pac-12. I think they will be able to keep Herbert in check and do just enough with Zach Moss on the ground to get the win at home.
Yeah, Oregon's another one of those teams I can't necessarily get a read on yet. Utah, I can at least understand the fact that they play defense and they're physical. So I'm going to get Utah at home in this one. Rivalry game, Auburn at Georgia.
Auburn always gets up for these games, but I just don't trust them enough. Georgia's got the dudes to get to Stidham and cause pressure on him. That dude running attack. I don't have an answer for. I think it'll look more like the SEC championship than their regular season game last year.
Yeah, I get Georgia too. Should feel pretty good knowing that they're in the SEC championship, but I guess there's some sort of chance that they aren't focused. But I'll go Georgia. They have a team that's fast. I mean, maybe young, but pretty good as well. So I'm going to go Georgia. Miami at Georgia Tech is one that, again, teams trying to fight for bowl eligibility, but still have a slim chance of winning the ACC Coastal.
Yeah, the teams are at 500, which puts you right in the mix there. But I'm going with the Rambling Wreck at home, that triple option. I think too much chaos for that Miami defense. Tobias Oliver, who's been well 12 touchdowns touchdowns on the ground for Georgia Tech for him. I got the Yellow Jackets at home.
I do too. Triple option, like you said, is good, and there's got to be a level of urgency. If they don't win this game, the remaining games are against Virginia, who, yes, did lose, but they're a solid team still. And then at Georgia to end the year, they need to win this game if they want to go bowling. So I'm going to have Georgia Tech as well. Miami, on the other hand, I mean, they lose this game, they go at Virginia Tech, no sure thing there. And Pitt, again, we'll never know what's going to happen in this division, but there's no guarantee Miami gets a win against any of these teams. So they're going to want to win this one too, but Georgia Tech does get the win. All right, number 3, I guess that'll change. LSU at Arkansas.
LSU's gonna smoke them. Bounce back game. Arkansas has just been a mess this year. I don't see them getting an SEC win.
I don't either. They're a team that is way down in the dumps. LSU, interested to see how that offense bounces back against just a little bit easier competition in this one. Florida State at Notre Dame.
I got Notre Dame big here. Florida State's a team that's just quit on Taggart and quit on this season. I think that ball streak is going to be snapping pretty soon.
I do too. Notre Dame can just keep the ball on the ground and play defense, and they'll win the game. Texas at Texas Tech.
I got the Red Raiders in a shootout at home. Bowman is he did have an issue, I think, with like a punctured lung earlier this week, so he is out, and that big changes. But I got the Red Raiders in the shootout, assuming he's healthy.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Taking Texas Tech too. I think the thing for me is they played really well against Oklahoma. If they don't get that injury, they probably win. It's hard to say that, but at the same time, they should be able to beat Texas. Texas is a little bit banged up on the defensive side of the ball, so I'm going to take Texas Tech. Let's go with Cal at USC.
Ooh, I took USC here. This one's going to be an ugly game. I mean, neither team with a terrible defense. Cal is able to hold Washington State close, but they've had their issues with quarterback as well. I think Lewis and game. I'm taking the home team, USC.
I took Cal on this one. Defense is pretty good, like you mentioned. I think if they just figure out just enough offense, they should be able to win this game and be able to get to that 6th to win bowl eligibility. Again, Pac-12 South is tough, but at the same time, California will be 3-4 after this game with a shot. So who knows? Let's go to the game day game now. We have Clemson at Boston College, the biggest game at Boston College in a long, long time, probably since Matt Ryan was there. Have a lot of big interest in this game from the national media, at least because a lot of it's based out of Boston. But at the end of the day, who wins it, Rob?
I got Clemson here. There's a lot of safety losses happening at Pitt and at Syracuse. The northern teams are getting in trouble, but I think this is a match that's tailor-made for Clemson to win. Obviously, BC's got the good, that traditional running game with A.J. Dillon, but Clemson's front seven is just pretty beastly, and I think they'll put a lot of pressure on Anthony Brown when they try to throw. I still see Boston College scoring enough points to stay in this one.
I don't see them scoring enough points either. I think the game plan for Clemson is load up the box, stop A.J. Dillon, trust your corners on the outside on one-on-one coverage, and maybe hope that Anthony Brown won't be. Yeah, I don't think he will, and I think Clemson's corners are good enough to cover that. So I'm going Clemson as well. It's the primetime game. It's 8 o'clock ABC. But honestly, I think this could be somewhat of a blowout here, maybe 20 to 30 points margin too. Crazy to say, but Clemson's again. I think it's this year. I don't know about you, Rob, but I kind of think it's like Alabama and then a huge gap, and then Clemson and then a huge gap, and then everyone else, and it's kind of just still undecided.
Clemson hasn't had quite the consistency as Alabama, but I think with their defense, with that front seven, they're capable, I think, of playing with Alabama. But yeah, I think we're trending toward another championship between those two teams.
Yeah, I think so too. Don't know if that's good or bad for the sport or what people want to say, but I mean, they're two great teams. I'm going to be watching that game and pumped to see it. So, Let's go to the ESPN College Game Day guest picker. They're at Boston College. Don't go there very often. A lot of possibilities there. Rob, who are you going with?
Yeah, I went with Doug Flutie. I know he calls it NBC games, but that's not until late that night, so plenty of time for him to hop on a plane later. I think he's the most iconic Boston College player of all time. They'll figure out a way to make that work and get him out there.
I went with a lesser loved, less good player in Matt Hasselbeck. Works for ESPN, but played quarterback at Boston College. I think they can find a way to make that happen. It's close enough to Bristol where they can get him back to do his responsibilities on Sunday with the NFL stuff. So I'm going to go Matt Hasselbeck. Rob, any other ones you thought about?
I think about Tim Hasselbeck, another ESPN personality who played quarterback at Boston College. And then I was kind of looking over some celebrities that went there. The one that jumped out, I can't imagine they'd get her on game day, but I think at least it'd be entertaining, if not informative, was Amy Poehler.
Yeah, that'd be entertaining. You're right. Maybe I should just put Hasselbeck down and let you guys decide if I got some bonus points for that pick. But yeah, those are kind of what I'm looking at. Damian Woody, also Boston College. ESPN guy, I don't know. There's a plethora of former football players. Other than that, you're right. Like you can go with different people who went there, like Amy Poehler. And we talked about this a little bit pre-show. I don't think there's any big Boston celebrities who are going to want to go do this. Boston's kind of a pro sports town, and like you mentioned, it's not a lot of people from the Boston area necessarily go to Boston College. So not really looking down that avenue for a guest picker.
And being like a smaller private Catholic school doesn't have, I think, quite the connection with it as like the state schools do.
Yeah, 100%. All right, that's our picks for the week with the ESPN College Game Day guest picker as well. Rob, anything else on college football for the week?
I don't think so. I'm ready for basketball to get underway here.
Yes, ready for watch football, basketball every day of the week, and pretty much no off days from here on out, it seems like, and have everything going there. Again, we'll be back to recap all the big games, college basketball and college football, make our picks for the future. We'll be doing kind of both sports for a while until football ends and then going strictly to basketball. For now, though, thank you for listening. We'll see you next week.